Ideas are gifts from the universe. Every time I have them, I capture them right then. The more that you write it down and pay attention to them, the stronger the gift and the connection will become, and you will start being flooded with more and more ideas. One of the things in finding your idea is to get quiet. It's really important to find out for yourself, when do you get your best ideas? For me, it's in the car. And it took me a little bit of time to figure this out, but once I figured it out, I have purposely created what my friends call a fake commute. And so I live 6 minutes from Spanx, but I will wake up an hour earlier, or I will leave my house an hour earlier and drive around town aimlessly just to get in my best think time. And it's when I'm driving and the radio's on, and then I'm flooded. That's where I solve problems. That's where ideas come to me. For Albert Einstein, I found out that his best ideas came to him when he was shaving. So maybe there's something to do with that rote activity. But for me, it's in the car, and that was a big moment. In fact, I actually thought of the name Spanx while sitting in the car. I was in traffic in Atlanta, and I had been spending 2 years trying to figure out the right name for my product and my invention. One bad name after another. I wrote them on rental car agreements, scrap pieces of paper. I had like gum wrappers with names on them. And one day, sitting in the car, the word Spanx, S-P-A-N-K-S, came to me. I actually visualized it across the dashboard in my mind. And I pulled off the side of the road and I wrote it down. And I thought, this is it. This is perfect. My product's all about the butt, makes your butt look better, no smooth canvas. And so I went home that night and I typed in S-P-A-N-K-S on a website called uspto.gov, which is where I spent a lot of time as an entrepreneur. And for $150, trademarked it with my credit card. And at the last second, I backspaced the K and the S and made it an X, because I did research that made-up words do better for products than real words do. And that all came to me in the car. So find out what it is for you, and then carve out and look at your calendar and say, where is that time on my calendar? Where is it for you? Is it in the shower? Is it when you're running? Is it when you're also in the car? But ask yourself this question. And I'm not talking about where you go through your massive checklist of things to do. I'm talking about, where does your mind wander? This is really critical. And if you're watching this right now and you say, my mind really doesn't wander, then that's the first step you have to take. You have to change some certain aspects of your life, and most likely you'll have to carve out time where you're alone. And it's harder and harder these days to be alone. Oftentimes we're searching not to be alone, but that's where the real connection and the gift will come for your ideas. So I like to ask the question why a lot. I would say why should become your best friend. Why does this exist? Why is it done this way? Why hasn't anything in this space evolved in a while? Could there be a better way? And if you are in search for an idea and you spend 1 week in your life with a notebook, writing down everything that bothers you, give it a minute, and then write down what you think the solution should be, you'll come up with an idea. Just the other day, I was sitting there getting my hair done at a hair salon. I'm like, I'm so hot under this cape. There has to be a more breathable cape. Write it down in my notebook. Why do I have to be under this thing that doesn't breathe under the hot lights in a hair salon? So that's just one of 99 pages of ideas that I have. But that's not my area. That's not my focus of business. But my brain is still doing it across all sectors all day long, and I welcome it, and the more that I do it, the more that I find it happens. I put them in notebooks, or I make a list, and then I revisit them. And what I have found is a lot of it's timing, and I will look back and an idea will resurface multiple times. And those are the ones you really want to pay attention to. So number one, find out where you do your best thinking and where you have your best thoughts. Number 2, log it. Don't ever lose a single idea. And then after you have your list of ideas, you want to prioritize them and really filter which idea is possibly the best for you to go for. And there's a whole process in how to filter an idea. Once you collect all these ideas, you have to figure out which one is the right one to pursue. And I put them through a filter system for myself. I look at 3 things: time it's going to take, money, and resources. And these are 3 things that all entrepreneurs are always having to check in on. And ask yourself the questions per idea. How hard is this going to be to get made? What's the approximate cost it's going to take? The level of complexity. Is it going to take one manufacturer to make this idea, or is it going to take multiple manufacturers to make this idea? How heavy is it? How much is it going to cost to ship? Are you going to be able to do it on your own? Do you need an entire team and other areas of expertise to help you do this? These are all questions that you ask per idea. So part of filtering your idea is also, how big is the need? You may be someone who comes up with an idea of, let's say, a vacuum cleaner that makes spaghetti. Okay, congratulations, you just found major white space that doesn't exist. But is there a need for it? Like, how many people out there in the world are looking for a vacuum cleaner that's going to make them spaghetti? This is what you got to ask yourself. And how I determined it was, I immediately, wanted to find out, does this product idea exist? You can do that in a few ways. You can search online, and then you can also ask around. And for me, I went from one account to another where I knew my product would be sold, and I literally asked the sales associates, what do women wear under white pants here? What are they doing? What are you offering them as a solution? And time again, they would say, oh, there really isn't a solution, or we've recommended this, but they're not super happy with that. So I was identifying, okay, I'm not the only one who sees this problem. Then the next thing I did was say, well, what would you ever be interested in this? And I literally said, if they had pantyhose, without the feet that just stopped just below the knee, would that help? Yes, it would. Oh my God, that would be amazing. I do think that I would be able to sell that to my customers. It would actually help me sell some of the clothes here. So I went home and I was like, aha, I'm onto something. I'm not the only one that sees this need. And my solution, so far, done my own little focus group, I'm getting reactions that this could be a solution that is needed. So I name my ideas or my inventions early on because I think it gives it energy, and it makes it more real. It's almost like when you write down your goals. People say if you write down your goal, you have a much greater chance of achieving it than if you just think it or just talk about it. So for me, I named Spanx pretty early on in the prototyping process. I was very diligent about, what am I going to name this? And I knew that I wanted the name to create energy and excitement and have people want to talk about it, because I didn't have the money to advertise. So I would suggest naming it, even if it's just for internal purposes. The minute inside of Spanx we name an idea or a concept, it starts to take on a different energy. When I started Spanx, I actually didn't tell anybody my idea for 1 year, because it's human nature that the minute that we get an idea, we turn to our right or our left. We tell our husband, our wife, our coworker, I have this idea. And then out of love and concern, they will give you the reasons why they want to protect you. Or they might say, well, that's a good idea, but what if? And it squashes so many million-dollar ideas in that exact moment. So what I suggest, and what I did, was I didn't tell people just for validation purposes. I wanted to protect it and pursue it. I didn't want to invite ego into the process too soon, because if you do, then you spend all your time defending it and explaining it and no time pursuing it. And I actually worked on it for 1 year before I just intuitively knew that it was time that I could open myself up to my family and friends and tell them the idea. And if they didn't like it, or if they told me 3 reasons why I maybe shouldn't do it, that I would still do it. But it took me 1 year of sweat equity before I got to that point to trust that. I worked at night and on the weekends, and everybody would just say, Sarah's working on some crazy idea. Nobody knows what it is. She just says it's an idea. And believe me, I mean, when I sat them all down a year later and I said, are you guys ready? It's footless pantyhose. They were like, what? I mean, so, and then I heard, well, honey, if it's such a good idea, why doesn't it already exist? And, well, sweetie, let's just think about this for a minute, because, even if it is a good idea, you're going to spend your savings on it, and then the big guys will just knock you out of the water 6 months later. And had I heard that in the moment that I had the idea, I'd probably still be selling fax machines. Actually, they don't really exist anymore, so I'd probably be selling something else. But you get the point. So even if you're not sharing it with your friends and family right away, you got to go out on a limb and share it with somebody. You got to share it with the people that can help move this forward. You have to share it with the lawyers. You have to share it with the manufacturers that might be a partner to you. You need to identify who is going to be necessary to create the prototype, to get it out into the world. Those are the people you need to tell. Do the best you can to protect yourself. I had a non-disclosure agreement. Half of them would sign it, half of them wouldn't. What I found was that very few people want to knock you off or steal your idea until you've already put it out into the world and it's successful. So the advice I would give back to myself in this journey would say, Sarah, don't stress about this too much at this stage. You have to tell the lawyer your idea. You have to tell the manufacturers your idea. Yes, the manufacturers may take your idea and run with it, but if you don't tell them, what you're going to sit in your apartment with this idea. I mean, you have to use your judgment in certain cases, but luckily for me, everybody thought my idea was crazy. I think of myself as an inventor far more than I have ever thought of myself as a designer, and I was actually really intentional about calling myself an inventor from the very beginning. I hold patents. I actually wrote most of my first patent myself. I had no idea what I was doing, but I bought a book on patents and trademarks at Barnes & Noble and read the book, and then just started writing my own patent. And I found a lawyer who would write the legal claims for a discounted price, because that was the part that I wasn't technically trained on doing. I also have had a lot of people ask me, should I patent it, should I not? Well, when I ask them a few other questions and they say I have $10,000 to my name to do this company and this idea, and the attorney quoted me 10 grand, the answer is no. You have to allocate where you're going to put your resources very carefully, especially in the beginning. Everybody patents things for different reasons. When you are first starting out, and I, for myself, had $5,000, I knew that I was patenting this to mostly be able to show the value and use it as a marketing tool. I wanted to be able to stand on TV or try to get press because it said patent pending. I was trying to really convey from a marketing standpoint, this is new, this is different, it doesn't already exist. So for the first 18 months, it said patent pending, which means nobody knows if you're going to get this patent or not, but it still discourages other people from copying you. And then once the patent comes out, then you have a decision on if you want to defend it if people start knocking you off. But my attorney even told me, Sarah, if you get this patent, it's going to cost you millions of dollars potentially to defend it. And I've never gone after anybody in 20 years. And there have been many, many people that have copied Spanx. It's up to you as the entrepreneur if you want to spend your journey fighting and defending a patent, or if you want to be spending your time and your journey coming up with the next best thing and keeping them all scrambling. Business can also be a service. You could be providing a service. It doesn't always have to be a tangible product. It can literally be, I believe I can offer a better service. I can offer a better way to clean carpets. I know this. I've already visualized it. And oftentimes on the service aspect, it's literally you. It's you're bringing and you're offering you and how much you care. And a lot of businesses have been built on that, on showing up and caring and building a team of people that are going to service the customer better than anybody else can. When you have an idea, it's very important to know the competition. So doing a search, to find out, does this idea already exist? But to find out, I always write down, what are the 3 closest products to this idea that exist? What do I like about them? What don't I like about them? And how am I different? Differentiation is one of the biggest, most important aspects of being an entrepreneur. A great test to do for yourself is look in the mirror and say, why am I different? Why is my product different? Why is my company different? Why is my idea different? Why am I different? Be able to answer that question in a minute or less. Be very convincing. Don't use words like maybe, like, I think. Change them to I know, I believe. You get this one shot with whoever it is along the way, whether it's the manufacturer you're trying to convince to help make your prototype, whether it's the first account you're going to call on that you hope sells your product, the first customer that you face-to-face with in a store, in wherever. You are going to need to be able to do that. And you got to make it easy for them. Here's what I am, here's why I'm different, and here's why I'm the best option.